Hello, my name is Chance Wade, and I'm going to be talking to you about the person I interviewed. The person I interviewed is Philip Ingwan Liao, and because of that, I named this interview The Life of Philip Ingwan Liao. The person I have chosen is actually my boyfriend's father, and I know it said no close family members, but technically we aren't close at all, so that was one of the reasons I interviewed him in hopes to get more insight on his background, and maybe that would build our relationship and give us a closer bond. So like I said, his name is Philip Ingwan Liao, and he is a 54-year-old male who is an immigrant from Taiwan and is Taiwanese. Philip moved to the United States when he was 13 and came with his intermediate family, which consisted of his father, mother, and younger brother Henry. The main reason that Philip and his family moved to the United States was because his parents believed that coming here would give their children the best educational experience and better opportunities for success in their future. So before I begin explaining my three concepts, I just wanted to pull up some pictures for you and show you them. I'm showing on my phone, so it's going to be a little hard to see. So this was Philip, or Phil, when he was a little younger and new to the United States. This is him and his son Devin. And then this is a more recent picture. Henry in yellow, their dad, and Philip. Okay, so now that you kind of know what he looks like, get a better idea of who I'm talking about. So the three concepts I have chosen are patriolocal, professional immigrant families, and education. And using this textbook, I use the Chinese American family because it most closely relates to the Taiwanese family and culture. There wasn't actually like a specific section for Taiwanese or Taiwan American, so I kind of just made it work. So the first concept I've chosen is patriolocal, and I got a quote from the book on page 229 that says, "Patriolocal. The married couple lived with the husband's parents. It was an extended family in which the grandparents, their unmarried children, and their married sons, and their wives and children all lived under one roof." So I chose this concept first because it really closely related to the way that Philip lived once he first became married to my boyfriend's mom. So when they first were married, Miriam and Philip lived in his parents' house and lived there until Devin was about 3 years old. And the main reason for this is that the family wants to keep everyone together and hopes to keep the family safe and strong. And it even states in the book that the more people living in the same house, the more prestigious the family is. So yeah, it was just really important to always have the family together. His mom and dad lived there. He lived there, his wife lived there, and like I said, their son lived there at one point. And besides just having the family close together and really creating like a strong unit, it was really nice to have the grandparents involved in the parenting process when Devin was growing up and just have them there as help as need be. Eventually they did move out of the house though, because Devin's mom and dad had different cultural beliefs. But even though they moved out, Devin and when his sister were born were constantly over there having sleepovers, and they would just watch them after school. So it's just really important to keep the family together. And they do prefer to have them living in the same house, but that doesn't always work out. So the second concept I have chosen is the professional immigrant family, and I have chosen, if you want to look on page 240 under the Modern Chinese American Families section, it begins to introduce the 4 different types of modern Chinese American families, and the second concept is the group that I have chosen, and that is the professional immigrant family. If you look on page 241 and 242, it kind of gives a definition of what it is, and it states that the second type of Chinese family is the professional immigrant family, or the scholar professional, and then it goes on to say that who moved away from Chinatown to surrounding urban areas and suburbs. So I have chosen this concept to relate back to his life because, like I stated before, education is important to the family, and it starts with the parents. So both of his parents received a college degree, and the book even directly mentions that the majority of immigrant scholars come from Taiwan, and they are from Taiwan. So because of their educational levels, they were able to more easily assimilate and get jobs in the United States, and using this knowledge and skill set that they have, they opened a family restaurant when they first came to the United States. So the professional immigrant family has educational backgrounds, and they use their skills to be more successful in the United States. So, like I said, they own a family restaurant, and one of the questions that I asked Philip was, were you raised differently than some of your friends, and how did you know? And he replied by saying, I was more brought up to be more mature, faster. One of the reasons is because our family owned a restaurant. It was truly a family affair. My father was in charge of the kitchen. My mother was in charge of the dining. Me and my little brother both washed dishes and waited tables to help out. So, like I said, they had an easier time assimilating and finding success in America because of their educational backgrounds, and they instilled those skills of hardworking, the importance of working hard in their sons, and relating directly back to working in the restaurant and the family unit and being together all the time. So the third concept I've chosen is education, and then on page 244 it states that education is highly valued in the Chinese family, and parents will undergo extreme financial sacrifices and hardship so that their children can receive as much education as possible. So I picked this quote, or this concept, because how important education is to their family and their culture, especially the high standards that the Taiwanese children were held to in Taiwan, and then it just followed through as he moved to America. So he mentioned the importance of education the most in his interview. The first time was when I asked him why he moved to America, and like I said before, his parents believed that moving to America would be the best way to increase their educational experiences and give them the most successful adult life. And then the second time that he mentioned it, he talked about how his education was important to him because that is where he learned most of his English, along with watching TV. But mainly in school, through his education, is where him and his brother learned English. And then the third time, it was a response to I asked him, what his responsibilities were growing up, and his response was, it was pretty much the same as here in the U.S. We each have our own chores, but in Asia, particularly in Taiwan, all of the students are faced with an immense high pressure and competitive academic culture. Taiwanese parents put a very high premium on their children's education, and they make academic excellence the number one responsibility for their kids. I certainly was no exception. So, like I said, education was extremely important to not only to their family, but to their culture, to their home life. They continued this on. As they came to America, he got to see it firsthand from his parents who did go to college and then who instilled that value into him. So it was just really expected of him to continue his education after high school, and he did. He did go on to college and graduated from Texas A&M University. And not only was this important to his parents and important to him, but he instilled this value of education into his own two children and is constantly pushing them to do their best. So those are my 3 concepts. The importance of living with a family, having the family unit together as a whole so you can help each other, build each other, and become more prestigious. The way that the professional immigrant family affected his lifestyle and his work, and how he the standards he was held to, and then the education, which, like I said, is the most important thing that I have talked to him about and just witnessed from knowing him. Okay, so a little bit of insight, just using previous knowledge of Philip and the information I have got for my interview questions. The first thing that I talked about was how when I first met Devin and his family, they always talked about how his dad always put the work first, even before like family time. But now, after interviewing him and just seeing how much his cultural experiences have affected his values in life, I've realized that that's just the way that he's been raised, and that's like the way he shows his love is by working hard to support the family. So not necessarily like being around for like affection and stuff. It's working hard so that they just have like an easier, like more successful life. And then I also realize why he's so strict on his children, because of the immense importance of education and the instilled values of education that he had in him, and he's just passed this along. So it's not him being overbearing or being mean, it's so important to be educated, and it just paves the path for a more successful life. So now I know why that's so important. And so just something that I also said was that I wrote, in his culture, love is not expressed with hugs and affection, but by the way you take care of each other. This means that you must work hard at all that you do, whether it be working at your job, getting an education, or providing a home where all of your family can live. In this culture, you take care of each other and push each other to be the best that you can, regardless of how hard it is. So going along with this, you work hard at whatever you do, whether it be education or working in your job or any of your future endeavors. You just work as hard as you can, and you don't give up, and you just use each other, use your family to build you up. And then, like I said, they're not very affectionate with their words or with like touching and stuff. It's more along the lines of I take care of you. But he did say one thing that I thought was really nice about his kids that did show a little bit more affection, and it was when I asked him, did you take some of your values from your childhood and your parents into consideration when raising your own children? And he responded by saying, absolutely. Respect is the first and foremost important virtue as far as my parents are concerned. I instilled this in my children at a very young age. I am extremely proud of my 2 children, and they are immensely compassionate, thoughtful, and caring. They both possess a strong moral compass. They will speak up and defend anyone that is unable to do for themselves. So though he doesn't show it very often, he loves his children. He can be affectionate at times, and some of his cultural values have been modified and aren't as strong as they were when he was living in Taiwan, because he has been in America for so long. So he did say that some of his morals and ideas have been more westernized. So that is a little bit about Philip Nguyen Liao from Taiwan. Thank you for watching.